Welcome to Luxury Bee's YouTube channel, where we can explore all topics related to luxury. For more upcoming videos, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Like, comment, and share to your friends. Is receiving payment for uncompleted work exciting? Well, a lot of people will think it's fantastic, but the same people will despise you if you become lazy. If you want to be compensated for doing nothing, imagine a job that doesn't exist, or simply keep dreaming. It might come true one day, but in my experience, that kind of pay isn't very good. Here is a list of 10 persons who received compensation for doing nothing. Number 10. From beyond the grave, the sailors paid. There was no insurance when a Royal Navy man passed away a few hundred years ago. Therefore, a rule was swiftly formed to make sure a sailor's family would be taken care of in the event he perished at sea. This regulation essentially said that if a sailor passed away, his name would still be listed on a Navy vessel somewhere, allowing his wife or family to continue receiving his salary after his passing. The fact that this program wasn't in existence on merchant Navy ships served as an additional incentive, since widows could only guarantee they wouldn't be left penniless by having their husbands join in the Royal Navy. Number 9. The law enforcement officials who took additional shifts never worked. Since this item is about police officers who worked multiple jobs to make ends meet, we aren't as convinced as we once were that the fuzz were paid fairly well. However, none of the extra hired police officers from Elizabeth, New Jersey bothered to show up for work, so screw them. To be clear, it was discovered that some Elizabeth police officers worked extra shifts for the New Jersey Housing Authority in October 2013. A few police officers, including a sergeant, just never showed up to work rather than perform the probably much easier tasks that didn't entail being shot at. Then, to prove that they had been present the entire time, they had secret spies sign timesheets. People working for the Housing Authority didn't understand the police weren't being paid for work they had never performed until they looked through CCTV records. Wow, a police officer getting caught on camera breaking the law. That never happens. Number 8. The gangster who managed to work none of his dozen jobs. James Whitey Bulger was a man you didn't mess with when he was at his best. Whitey quietly asked the friendly bartender for a job one night when the bar owner Kevin O'Neill was putting in a late shift. If you haven't figured it out by now, Whitey wasn't exactly the type of person to pitch in and work hard. In reality, Whitey never showed up for work throughout the 3 years he worked for O'Neill. Because Whitey likely worked 8 jobs there, we assume that the tax office took a while to catch on. Number 7. The 22% of the time when the road operator did nothing. We'll assume that if you added up all of the time you take off from work on a particular day, it would make for a sizable portion of your day. Unless you're in China. It's unfair to demand that someone complete their entire shift without a break. It seems that a group of road maintenance employees shared this opinion, and in keeping with American capitalism, spent 1/5 of their working hours doing absolutely nothing. As mentioned here, it was discovered that a crew of 5 Metro North road operators wasted up to 22% of their work days doing nothing at all in the beginning of 2013. They would go home, run errands, and eat Burger King to pass the time when they weren't doing nothing. Number 6. British politicians that requested public funding for their needs. As a British MP, you have the right to have some of the costs associated with performing your official duties covered by tax dollars. Even almighty Wikipedia eventually covered the so-called parliamentary expenses crisis. And the list of things MPs attempted to claim for is so ridiculous it resembles the wish list of a spoiled child. Some MPs use their expenses to purchase or pay the rent on second residences they never used. Adopting the straightforward but effective strategy, the public may pay my rent even though I'm rich already. Others really went for it, claiming anything and everything they could think of. including meals, travel, and vacations. The MP Frank Cook, who attempted to recover $5 he had paid to charity in addition to £150,000 in other expenses that he could have easily covered on his large MP income, is possibly the best example. The British government contradicted their unusual intelligence by allowing another MP's expense request to have his moat cleaned. Number 5. The friend of a Canadian senator who made $65,000 by squatting. We do not allow the British to enjoy all the fun. We'll move on to the tale of Ottawa Senator Mike Duffy, who convinced the Canadian Senate to pay a friend of his $65,000 for what appears to be absolutely no reason at all, since we can't let the Brits have all the fun. Duffy was allegedly manipulating his expenditures, just like the British MPs mentioned above. And when interested, journalists got their filthy hands on them. They discovered a pretty peculiar charge Duffy had made to the Senate. If you're wondering if this is just our word against the word of a completely trustworthy Canadian bacon-filled senator, you should know that when the police interviewed Duffy's friend, Gerald Donahue, he himself admitted to doing no tangible work in the 4 years he'd been hired. Over the course of 4 years, he'd billed them $65,000 for, we quote, little or no apparent work. However, we can't really hold it against him, since if someone paid us that much money to remain still, we would accept it. Donahue earned $16,250 per year by doing nothing, though we suspect he could have made a little more if he had asked Duffy for overtime. Number 4. Mafia members who receive pay for working 24-hour shifts. According to the New York Post, friends of the various crime families in New York were able to land positions that earned more than $400,000 annually. How much money did they make? Simple. They received payment for their 365 days of labor. The nephew of criminal Vincent Gigante, Ralph Gigante, was successful in landing a position as a union representative for an airport terminal. His position effectively provided him with an almost limitless income and a reference that was likely so excellent it could be seen from space. He was compensated for any hours that the people he represented worked at a 24-hour terminal. Similar to Gigante's position, timekeepers for numerous ports and shipyards in the New York area were paid according to how many hours the workers below them worked rather than how many hours they themselves worked. Since nothing they're doing is technically unlawful, none of the people in these positions have received punishment, in contrast to the other people on this list. Number 3. Although they had never driven anywhere, the truck drivers were hired. For the use of their truck for various public tasks, truck owners would be paid a comfortable $50 per hour by the city of Chicago, creating jobs for residents and saving the city money by not having to purchase or operate pricey and filthy dump trucks. But it soon became apparent that nobody was going to do any work. This scheme was completely corrupt practically from the beginning. Higher-ups accepted payments from anyone who wanted their vehicles to qualify, and there were connections to the mob at every level. Novak never once saw the truck move over the course of several days, except when its drivers went to McDonald's. Let's not lose sight of the reason we are here, which is to memorialize the men who were paid $50 per hour by the city to sit in a truck for 10 hours every day, along with eat McDonald's and then return home. Number 2. The janitors who made $500,000 while working 3 jobs. Unless they performed the duties of 3 janitors simultaneously, you would typically be correct that janitors don't make that much money. Each of the 3 men continued to work at his normal job while also cashing payments for positions at other schools throughout the state of New York, for which he never showed up. The boldest of the 3, Coppola, claimed to have worked at 3 New York City schools between 2007 and 2010. The 3 individuals scammed the education department out of almost $500,000 altogether, which, regardless of how you look at it, is considerably more than the 3 men who sweep floors and pee when no one is looking should ever be paid. Number 1. The person who sent his own work to China. You've certainly read about this story while browsing the internet, but we had to rank it as the best, because holy crap, it's that good. The best aspect, which most stories miss, is that the person who did it outsourced several tasks. According to reports, Bob, a now retired software developer for Verizon, spent $50,000 annually outsourcing a number of his responsibilities to a Shenyang-based Chinese business. He had plenty of time to focus on becoming a total legend as a result. The man basically spent all of his work time messing around on the internet because he still had to drag himself to work every day. In other words, he only gave up a small portion of his already enormous pay to spend the entire day getting paid to do what you are doing right now. For nothing. Do you envy them? Let me know on the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Please like and share.